In the shadow of blockbuster sci-fi hits, a treasure trove of 1970s alien invasion films remains forgotten, eerie, mind-bending, and surprisingly relevant. What if these hidden gems were rebooted for today's world? Buckle up as we uncover 10 underrated classics that deserve a spectacular comeback. Let's dive in. The Andromeda Strain depicts a devastating scenario. A satellite falls in a rural desert region, and as a result, a strain is released from the satellite that kills everyone that comes in contact with it. A sanitized environment lab works together to contain the pathogen before it spreads across the globe. The movie denotes an alien invasion, yet there is no trace of a large ship or green aliens. The only trace is a dormant microorganism. Instead, the tension is built through the dark, dimly lit lab parts, moving hands of a clock, and the moments that provide a sense of impotence, seeing the fellow humans being extinguished by an omniscient force. The Andromeda Strain is an apocalyptic sci-fi thriller due to its concentration on science and what life can present that a man cannot fathom during times of crisis. The combination of the cold visuals, chilling electronically driven music, and the tension in the plot leaves one feeling miserable at best. With the effects of the pandemic fresher in the minds of many, a newer rendition of the Andromeda Strain would be more relevant today due to the shift of focus into biosecurity and misinformation and the ethics of the ongoing process. The current CGI and sophisticated type of narration can really make sure that the film has elements, making it suitable for viewers of today, picking their touch points from a variety of options available on screen. Phase 4. Phase 4, nevertheless, is not your traditional alien invasion film. This is a film by Saul Bass, who is considered one of the greatest graphic designers, and movie title sequences that are now iconic. This thought-provoking sci-fi work of art talks of a strange space happening that the ants suffer from and makes them super smart, which is the basis of their hive mind intelligence. When the first ants arrive and the human population disappears, 2 scientists and a girl are trapped in a research lab where they have to figure everything out in order to stay alive. What really makes Phase 4 a unique piece of art is that it is a sinister movie that arouses bleakness and tells the story in a different way. It's not the creatures that come to us, neither in the form of a flying saucer nor through laser beams, but by nature they do this in an organized and strategic way. The film's cinematography is extraordinary, with expressive cut-ups of ants doing tricky jobs and a gloomy hue of their growing influence. This panicky drama includes concepts of existence central to philosophy, situated in a universe that is very dynamic and often unpredictable. What Phase 4 requires to be done is the following. Today, due to the usage of macro photography and visual effects, casting is brought to the highest level here that can make Phase 4 both stunningly beautiful and bone-chilling. Eco-critical themes could be taken up as the topic. The movie could center on the destruction of human nature and the catastrophic results of the ecological disruption. Supported by a director of skill, perhaps Phase 4 might turn into an updated horror movie to the same extent as the recent ones. Inspired by Eric von Daniken's innovative and provocative book, the movie Chariots of the Gods emphasizes the hypothesis that earlier human societies had been subjected to the guidance or manipulation of the extraterrestrial entities. This pseudo-documentary, sometimes referred to as a non-alien jet invasion film, attempts to engage viewers with its treatment of location jumping across the planet and the lost and forgotten civilizations, such as the pyramids of Egypt, the Nazca Lines in Peru, and the peculiar statues of Easter Island. The film, using interviews, preserved video clips, and speculative narration, throws light on some fascinating issues. Could these accomplishments have been the works of some outer space powers? Did ancient dwellers come into communication with creatures from other planets? The film thrives through its ambitious scope and the manner in which it cleverly mixes history, archaeology, and science fiction in a very thought-provoking way. Whereas the detractors belong to the camp of the skeptics regarding the theories as pseudoscience, the movie brought the world to look at the topic and took off a prolonged series of science fiction stories and films. What are the advantages of this? The documentary can make such theories more attractive visually through the usage of modern documentary techniques and high-definition drone footage and CGI recreations. Moreover, dramatized adaptation could set the stage for an Indiana Jones-style globe-trotting movie where a mix of scientists and humanists unravel the Earth's dark past and unveil the hidden extraterrestrial effect, where Arrival and Indiana Jones films are merged. Number 4. The Day Time Ended. What could not have been done with a higher budget was nonetheless accomplished by this rather creative film. The Day Time Ended that brought viewers into the otherworldly episodes of a family after their ET encounter. The story is taking place in a secluded desert house and is about the nuclear physicist and his family, who have the chance to see the unusual happening after a UFO lands nearby. Time loops are occurring in the wake of UFOs. Family members get stuck in a time loop where the same day is repeated and they are faced with alien beasts. Time loops are different, and each loop shows a new, strange event as the family tries to figure out the norm of reality taking such an event. It is the movie's technique of using surreal, almost dreamlike sequences for capturing the disoriented state of the abduction that engages the viewers. The movie was obviously not very rich, yet the filmmakers' creative and vigorous ideas turned it into a deeply engraved experience for the lovers of the 70s sci-fi. Apart from the time anomalies and the erratic alien actions, a psychological thriller aspect is being added to the invasion genre by the movie. If today's use of enhanced visual effects and the focus on unusual timelines are combined, The Day Time Ended could be remade into a mind-bending thriller full of high-concept ideas. The contemporary public, familiar with such films as Tenet and Interstellar, would embrace a reopening, and the film could incorporate the idea of a mind-warping alien invasion that changes one's perspective about the reality we know. Life Force, directed by Tobe Hooper, is a bizarre blend of sci-fi, horror, and vampire mythology. The film begins with the discovery of a mysterious alien spacecraft in orbit around Halley's Comet. A crew of astronauts explores the vessel, only to find 3 humanoid creatures in suspended animation. When they return to Earth, one of the aliens, a beautiful, energy-draining woman named Space Girl, awakens. She begins sucking the life force from humans, turning them into empty, lifeless husks. As chaos spreads, a military officer and a scientist attempt to track down Space Girl and stop the alien invasion before humanity is wiped out. While Life Force received mixed reviews upon release, it has since developed a cult following due to its audacious premise, graphic content, and unique blend of genres. The concept of aliens feeding on human life energy adds a chilling twist to the standard invasion story, with a vampiric element that makes it stand apart from other extraterrestrial films of the time. Why it deserves a reboot? Life Force is an intriguing concept that could be reimagined for modern audiences. With today's advanced CGI and a more streamlined narrative, a reboot could create a dark, thrilling mix of sci-fi and horror. The tension between alien invaders and the horror of human consumption could provide a fresh, gripping experience. The Man Who Fell to Earth is a haunting, thought-provoking film that stands out in the realm of alien invasion cinema. Directed by Nicholas Roeg and starring David Bowie in his first major film role, the story follows an alien named Thomas Jerome Newton, who arrives on Earth in desperate search of water for his drought-stricken planet. Disguised as a human, Newton uses advanced technology to build a business empire, with the goal of bringing back resources to save his dying world. However, as he becomes entangled in the human experience, its greed, corruption, and vices, he starts losing his mission and ultimately his identity. The film explores themes of isolation, the destructive nature of human society, and the alienation that comes with being an outsider. Bowie's performance is magnetic, embodying the cold detachment of an alien with an emotional depth that makes Newton's tragic fall all the more compelling. The film's slow pace and artful cinematography give it an eerie, surreal atmosphere that lingers long after the credits roll. Why it deserves a reboot? A modern reboot could delve deeper into the psychological and emotional aspects of Newton's character, while updating the visual style with contemporary effects. It could also reflect today's global environmental crises, positioning the alien's plight as a metaphor for climate change and the consequences of human exploitation of resources. The 1978 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, directed by Philip Kaufman, is a chilling, paranoia-filled horror film that stands as one of the best examples of alien invasion cinema. The story centers on a San Francisco health inspector, Matthew Bennell, Donald Sutherland, who begins to notice that people around him are acting strangely, emotionless, cold, and robotic. As he digs deeper, he discovers that an alien species is taking over human bodies, creating duplicates in pods that slowly replace the original humans. The movie explores the fear of losing personal identity, as well as the societal tension of conformity versus individuality. What makes this version of Body Snatchers so effective is its ability to tap into the deep-seated fear of being watched and replaced. The film is laden with tension as the audience experiences the same growing dread that Bennell feels. No one can be trusted, and even those closest to you may no longer be human. The haunting finale, in which Bennell realizes he's been replaced, has become one of the most iconic and unsettling moments in horror cinema. Why it deserves a reboot. Given today's societal and political divisions, a modern reboot could intensify the themes of surveillance, conformity, and the erosion of individuality. Enhanced special effects and a more visceral approach to the horror could amplify the psychological terror of this classic story. The Terminal Man, directed by Mike Hodges and based on the novel by Michael Crichton, is a unique entry in the alien invasion genre, focusing on the psychological and technological effects of an invasion. The film follows Harry Benson, George Segal, a man suffering from violent seizures that causes him to lose control of his actions. When his doctors implant a computer chip in his brain to control the seizures, it leads to unexpected consequences. While the film doesn't feature traditional extraterrestrial invaders, the technological alien influence here is just as invasive. Benson begins to experience erratic behavior, resulting in violent outbursts that spiral out of control. The tension of The Terminal Man lies in the intersection of human vulnerability and invasive technology. While aliens aren't directly involved, the film echoes the alienation and loss of control that often accompanies an invasion scenario. But here, the invasion comes from within the body, rather than outer space. The film's cold, clinical atmosphere adds to the feeling of dread and isolation. Why it deserves a reboot. A modern reboot could delve deeper into the themes of invasive technology, artificial intelligence, and the loss of human autonomy. With today's advancements in CGI, the film could explore the invasive technology in a far more visual and visceral way, heightening its psychological horror. Warning Sign is a lesser-known gem in the alien invasion genre, offering a mix of biological horror and sci-fi thrills. The film is set in a remote chemical plant where a mysterious alien organism is accidentally released after a series of strange occurrences. The contagion, which is alien in origin, begins to affect the workers, causing them to exhibit strange, violent behaviors. As the infected begin to spread the disease, the facility becomes a ticking time bomb of panic and chaos, and a small group of survivors must figure out how to stop the alien threat from spreading to the outside world. The film's strength lies in its tense atmosphere and the feeling of claustrophobia. The isolated setting, combined with the unseen alien threat lurking in the workers' bodies, creates an intense sense of dread. The idea of an alien organism infiltrating human bodies and causing uncontrollable aggression is a fresh take on the alien invasion genre, emphasizing the horror of infection and mutation rather than direct alien contact. Why it deserves a reboot. A modern remake of Warning Sign could take advantage of advanced effects to visually portray the alien contagion and its horrifying effects on the human body. The growing fear of biological contamination and the alien's unseen nature could make for an even more terrifying and relevant film, especially in the context of global health crises. The Invisible Enemy, directed by Charles B. Pierce, is one of the most underappreciated alien invasion films of the 70s. The story follows a small, rural town that becomes the target of an alien force, but this invasion is unlike most. The aliens are not visible in traditional senses. They exist as an invisible, parasitic entity capable of controlling human hosts. The residents of the town start to act strangely, with some even committing violent acts, and it soon becomes apparent that they are under the influence of the invisible invaders. As the protagonist, a local sheriff, begins to investigate, he uncovers the terrifying truth of the invasion and must find a way to stop the alien force from completely taking over the town. What sets the invisible enemy apart is its unique approach to the alien invasion genre. Rather than showing physical extraterrestrials or UFOs, the invasion is conducted through possession, creating an atmosphere of paranoia and distrust among the townspeople. The suspense builds as the viewer is left to wonder who is human and who has been taken over by the alien presence. Why it deserves a reboot. With modern visual effects, the concept of invisible invaders could be reimagined in new and terrifying ways, heightening the paranoia and tension. The use of psychological horror combined with alien possession could make for a deeply unsettling film, especially in today's world where fears of surveillance and control are pervasive. These 1970s alien invasion films are ready for their moment to shine once again. And who knows, maybe a reboot is just around the corner. If you enjoyed this deep dive into forgotten classics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another out-of-this-world video. Which movie would you reboot first? Let me know in the comments.